101 Dalmatians is certainly one of those childhood movies of mine. One of the Disney films I couldn't get enough of. I probably lost count how many times the tape was put into the recorder. With its unique and appealing scratchy art style, the great atmosphere of England, the cast of wonderful characters including one of the most iconic Disney villains that also gave us one of the most iconic Disney villain songs, I certainly have a lot of praise for this movie. Many scenes are a great watch and I look forward to reliving them every time I watch this movie every once in a while, and my favourite scene has to be the opening. Not only is the opening of 101 Dalmatians one of my favourite openings for a Disney movie, I consider it to be one of Disney's best, and dare I say it, an absolute perfect way to kick off such a wild and gripping adventure flick that slowly gets crazier the more and more it goes on. If you're familiar with my channel, you might know that this is a remake of an older video, the second one I ever uploaded to the channel in fact, which was over a year ago now. I'm so proud of that video considering it was one of the first attempts of doing something like this, but since I've gotten better at writing scripts that include all of my points instead of just doing a rundown of the scene from start to finish, in turn also helping my editing get better, I thought it would be a good idea to remake this one with more of my current style. I did consider taking the original down after I upload this one, but I think I'll keep it up as it's a great relic of this channel's early days. If you've seen that video, you're probably aware of my opinions on this scene, but if you haven't, then hopefully you'll see why I consider the opening of 101 Dalmatians to be perfect. Immediately we're thrust into a slice of life scenario. It's the middle of the afternoon on a spring day in the corner of Regent's Park, where a man and his dog are high up in their bachelor flat right on the end of a terrace of buildings. We learn that the man's name is Roger, and he's your average Englishman, dressed in the most casual way and smoking a pipe. He's working on his piano, and just from his facial expressions and body language, we can see that he is very passionate about his work, coming up with notes for a new song and jotting them down while also concentrating on the pitch of each key, focusing hard to make sure that he does not come up with an error. We see as well that Roger, well into his smoking habit, has been doing this type of work many times over the course of however many months or even years, evidenced by the large plate of matches that he has collected up with each new puff of his pipe, and the untidiness and unkept nature of the cramped flat, which is filled with clothing and other musical instruments, which also gives us an idea of Roger's character. He plays many types of instruments, not just the piano, clearly highlighting his love and passion of music as a whole, something that becomes a strong characteristic of his a bit later on down the line. Not only does the condition of the flat show Roger's love and passion of music, but also the pride he takes in each song that he writes, as he is so focused on perfecting the genre that the thought of keeping the flat tidy has merely drifted away, and since he lives alone, he doesn't have a reason to start tidying anytime soon. There's also a narration that's happening during this scene, and as we know that Roger is too focused on his work, he cannot be the narrator. Instead, his dog Pongo is the narrator, having nothing else to do since the bachelor life is so boring and dull. It's a great way as well for the movie to catch you by surprise, as you wouldn't expect the dog to be talking for the owner. Not only is Pongo being the narrator surprising in the regard that he is so, but we're also taken aback by his manner of speaking, which is elegant, formal and polite. We would not expect a dog to be this well spoken. Many of Pongo's body movements and facial expressions are enough to highlight his boredom of the life he is living, yawning and stretching out and gazing mindlessly out of the window. Pongo also understands the appeal of Roger. He describes him as talented, handsome and intelligent, and he informs us that his songs revolve around the topic of romance, a subject that he's not all that familiar with. Fortunately, Pongo is so, and he believes that the natural strengths that Roger possesses warrants him to have a partner who is all the same, and Pongo himself may also need a partner since he does have strengths too, showing that owners are indeed like their pets. This phrase is only made more apparent in a humorous and creative way, as when Pongo looks down into the streets below, he sees many pairs that are identical in looks, though they are too unusual, too short coupled, too fancy, too old and too young to match with him and Roger. Pongo's examinations are shown through his facial expressions, moving and tilting his head and at one point quickly shaking it with rapid blinking. All this is enough to display his mood and what he's thinking. His frustration and loss of confidence in this procedure is shown in his stance, first positioning himself with a formal pose before he ends up slumping into the casual variety. Throughout this whole scene there is background music, that music being Roger's work that he is looking to perfect. So while we're not focusing on Roger all the time throughout this scene, we're very much always in the presence of his talents. The music is also perfectly tying in with the mood of Pongo, matching his every emotion with every note. However experimental they are through Roger constructing his creative act, and getting ever closer to that final moment. And that final moment comes at exactly the right time when Pongo has discovered his own form of perfection. He sees who we later learn is a woman named Anita, and her dog, fittingly a Dalmatian too, but with white ears and a blue collar, named Perdita. Pongo sees that they're heading towards the park, and being an individual who understands perfect scenarios, he knows that the park is indeed the perfect meeting place. We also learn that Pongo and Roger are tightly knit, because Pongo is fully aware of the time that Roger always consistently finishes his work, which is after 5 PM, the current time being 4:30 PM, and by the time the next 30 minutes come around, it will be too late. So Pongo, displaying his side that to him is one of intelligence and meticulous planning, but one to us is a little on the goofy and silly side, changes the clock to get Roger out of work and take him to the park, where he ultimately sets his plan in motion that becomes a success. Pongo is the one that kicks off the entire plot of the movie, and over the next hour or so, we're subjected to absolute chaos and madness that only gets even crazier the more we progress. I firmly stand by my opinion that this is one of Disney's best openings to their animated movies. The atmosphere is just so cosy, the wonderful designs of the high-rise buildings set in the quiet corners of one of the largest and most populated cities in the world, the springtime setting, which in my opinion is the best season out of the four, as it gives a perfect blend of warm sunshine and drizzling showers, the cramped nature of the apartment that's littered in all kinds of things, the calming yet simple melody of the piano, one of the finest musical instruments there is in my opinion, and of course the fantastic and subverting narration from Pongo after making us believe that it's Roger that's talking. We get to learn so much about the characters of Roger and Pongo despite them never actually speaking a word out loud, only shown through their body and facial expressions, something that we can easily read and recognise. Roger is an intelligent, creative and passionate individual that focuses on perfecting the art that he makes, something he has spent many hours on, as shown by the large pile of matches on the plate, and the time he has allowed to pass that has led his apartment to become a mess. Pongo is mostly the same in this regard. He is focused on perfectionism, and we see this when he carefully analyses the dog and owner pairings, which are humorously bringing the common phrase that owners look like their dogs to life. We also learn that Pongo's actions are a result of his self-belief state of mind. He comes across as an intelligent, suave individual to us, but to Roger, he's merely just a goofball. Starting off with a relaxing, calming slice-of-life scenario was the perfect way to prelude the zany, hammy, over-the-top antics, and everything in this scene comes together beautifully to get us into the mood and prepare us all for all of that. Honestly, I would believe that this scene could even easily work on its own as a short film. It's just such a great piece of art, and sometimes you don't really need to know what happens next. But of course, as we know, it's part of a feature-length film, one I absolutely love, and I have no problem at all with the transition from the grounded tone to the more wacky slapstick. The movie never established itself as something serious. I mean, come on, it's a dog trying to get two humans to meet. So I'll finish by saying that yes, in my opinion, the opening of 101 Dalmatians is perfect and a piece of true art. I give my props to the animators, the writers, the composers, and the acting of Rod Taylor. It's all brilliant. But let me know what you think. Do you like the opening of 101 Dalmatians? And do you think it was the perfect way to start the movie? Or maybe you have some other thoughts on it, or perhaps you noticed some things about it that I haven't. I'd love for you all to share your own opinions. But that's all I've got for now. I'm Jay the Taz, and I'll see you next time.